Ukraine's future hangs in the balance as the United States shifts allegiances away from that country and Europe scrambles to fill the gap. However, this morning, a ceasefire deal is on the table. Joining us this morning is Dr. Yaroslav Hrytsak, who teaches at the Ukrainian Catholic University in Lviv. Thanks so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you being here. So let's talk about this deal coming from the United States and Ukraine meeting together the last couple of days. Russia hasn't said much yet. What do you think is going to come from this?
I don't believe there will be some kind of this sustainable result, because basically what we know as a history, that President Putin are very obsessed with Ukraine, and he doesn't really see Ukraine as a viable state. He sees Ukraine as a kind of danger, essential danger for him. So I don't see whether Trump or anyone else has a leverage to change the strategy of Putin, because Putin basically wants to obliterate Ukraine from the political map. That's it. That's the story.
What do you think is the path forward for Ukraine at this point?
I mean, Ukraine should be armed. Ukraine should be supplied with the more weapons to stand. Because the only way to bring Putin to the negotiating table is to show a strength. This is the only language that Putin understands.
So you come here from Ukraine to speak tomorrow at the University of Alberta. What's the mood like in your country right now?
Resistant, very much resistant. Ukraine wants a deal. This without a doubt. There's anything more that Ukraine wants as a peace. But they have a kind of very hard choice, no deal or bad deal. So the thing right now is they're very much concerned that deal would be very, very bad, because there's no guarantees. Because we are very much very much sure that this would be not the end. It will be just a truce. And the new war will come in a year or so.
Okay. Now, it felt like the world was watching when your president was meeting in the Oval Office with President Donald Trump and his vice president. It seemed like a disaster in there.
Without a doubt.
What was the mood watching that in Ukraine?
It was anger.
Yeah.
It was anger. It's a cold anger, I would say. And the immediate result was that support of the Zelenskyy raised up very strongly. So again, we look like we have a leader, like at the beginning of the war.
Now, you are a professor of history. You know the long lineage of this. For people who are tracking this war at home with refugees coming here to Canada, a long history of Ukraine in Canada, they still don't understand why this is happening. What do you say to people to try to get them to get the genesis of this conflict?
This is historical reasons. And the reasons is that most of the Russian political elites, regardless they're democratic or anti-democratic, they didn't accept Ukraine as an independent country, as a stable nation, and they see Ukraine as an essential threat to Russia. There were some exceptions, like Boris Nemtsov or Sakharov, but they either died or killed or made to leave the country. So this is the basic. There's no consent among the Russian elites that Ukraine should exist as an independent country. They see Ukraine as a core of Russian state and Russian identity.
Now, what do you think at this point right now are the chances of this escalating to a broader potential world war?
If I may use some kind of historical parallel, it's looked like in 1938. It's not 39, but they're pretty close, so to say. So it depends on the further circumstances. But I would also say that both during the First World War and the Second World War, Ukrainian issue played a pivotal role. And now it has this kind of the repressing. So I'm saying without solution of the Ukrainian issue, we could hardly have a stability in this region.
Okay. Well, as mentioned, there is a talk of a ceasefire this morning. No response from Russia at this point. We appreciate your insight this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Dr. Hrytsak will be delivering an annual Shevchenko lecture at the U of A tomorrow night. It's at 6:30. It's called Putin's Attack on Ukraine, Why Timing Matters. You can go check that out tomorrow evening.